One of my big goals for 2025 is to get into $5 million of debt. Most people want to stay out of debt. However, for 2025, my goal is to get into $5 million worth of good debt. In this video, I'm going to explain my goal, break it down to you, and show you how if you utilize debt properly, it is the #1 wealth building strategy, and it's not even close. The $5 million of debt that I'm going to add in 2025 that I'm getting ready to explain to you will add a few $1,000,000 worth of net worth, which means I will make an extra few $1,000,000 because I am getting in $5 million worth of debt. Here's a brief economics 101 before we get the ball rolling. Assets create wealth. Whether it's a real estate asset or a business asset, everyone that has a substantial amount of wealth is tied to an asset. So if you want to create wealth, you have to buy assets, right? Well, if you don't have enough money to buy those assets, the best thing to do is to borrow money, aka get into debt, to buy those assets, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in 2025. I bought $50 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money because of my strategies that I'm going to talk about in this video. So if you're a normal person that didn't come from money and is looking to get ahead financially and want to learn how to do that from somebody who's actually done it, you're gonna like this video. All right, part one, why is getting into $5 million of debt my goal? At a base level, every single dollar of debt I get into, I get $1.25 to $1.30 of return. Meaning, if I get into $10 of debt, I am going to be making $13 or $14. So it's just simply a formula. I borrow money, I make more. I borrow money, I make more. It's like a slot machine that you know you're going to get a return on. You put money in, you're going to get money back. Obviously, you have to do it the right way. That's why not everybody does this, but that's also why I create these free videos to show you how to do it the right way. Real estate investors commonly use debt and leverage to control assets that they cannot buy without that debt or leverage. Similarly, in businesses, most people that start businesses take on a loan from the SBA or from friends and family to start up that business. So in order to create an asset, business, or real estate, borrowing money to get the thing started or to move the thing along is the best way to grow quickly. Everybody from Jeff Bezos to Elon Musk to Mark Zuckerberg all created and grew their companies through debt. And even though they are all billionaires and some of the richest people to ever exist on planet Earth, they still use debt to grow their businesses because they understand it is the secret hack of the wealthy. Borrow money, buy asset, use asset to pay off who you borrowed the money from. You own asset, asset creates wealth for you. That's a very simple way to put it, but it is powerful and true. So for real estate purposes, you are borrowing money to buy a rental property. Now there is a process that goes along with that, and I'm gonna give that process to you at the end of this video and even point you over here or over here or over here or over here to an additional video to watch that will explain this process even further. But for now, I want to keep a 30,000 foot view and talk about how my $5 million worth of debt is going to create wealth for me so that you can spend that and create wealth for you. So you get into debt to buy a real estate asset. I think let's just stick with real estate. It's what I'm an expert at, and it's something that is most accessible to you. And everybody needs it. You can go start a business that some people may have interest in buying that product. Some people may not have interest in buying that product. Pretty much everybody has interest in having a house and a roof over their head. So I borrow money to buy a house. And at the end of the day, that house is worth 25 to 30% more than I borrowed to buy it. For I have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity from day one because of the process that I use, and I'm gonna give you at the end of this video. So there's equity built in, so it's a very safe place to have debt. If you're borrowing money to buy something at a discount and there's equity built in, the person lending you the money is gonna be very likely to do it. But on top of that, I do owe the bank money on the loan I have with them, but the fact that I'm buying a rental property, I collect rent every single month, and I put a portion of that rent and I pay back the bank. And at that same time, that property goes up in value over time. That mortgage gets paid down by the rent that I pay the bank. I get positive cash flow and tax benefits, and it's all because I properly leverage debt. And I know I make it sound simple because it is, but but that doesn't mean it's easy. That's why everybody doesn't do it. All right, hopefully that gives you a somewhat clear picture of what properly leveraged debt looks like when buying assets. Now let's move on to section 2, where I want to talk about my $5 million plan and kind of show you how it's going to be structured. Simplicity wins, and it's going to win in 2025 for me. So my plan is to get into $3 million of debt buying single family rental properties. And the way that I do it, I have about 25 to 30% equity in every property I buy. So just going by my plan, I'm gonna have $3 million worth of debt, which will probably be around 20 single family rental properties. So buying, a little less than 2 a month, which shouldn't be a problem for me. My flipping company buys 25 to 30 a month. So I just have to carve out 2 of those a month-ish that will get me my $3-ish million worth of debt. But based on my strategy, those properties will be worth at least $4 million. So just by getting into $3 million worth of debt, I will immediately get $1 million worth of equity. Now, of course, you can do this too. Maybe your goal is not 3 million, maybe it's 300,000, maybe it's 500,000, but you should be able to add 25 to 30% on top of that, and that will be your immediate equity, your immediate net worth added because of properly leveraging debt. So I'm gonna add 20-ish doors. I'm gonna add about $4 million worth of actual portfolio value, while of course bringing on about $3 million in debt. Now, the next part of my plan is to add around $2 million worth of multifamily property debt. Now, my multifamily property debt looks a little bit different than my single family property debt. Single families, I buy a property, fix it up, bring on the debt, and now I have a fixed up property that I rent that grows in value over time. The tenant pays the mortgage down, I get some cash flow, but it's a slow moving wealth building ship. I usually get a 20% down payment from a private lender to buy a distressed, undervalued, non-performing multifamily asset, and then I increase the rent by improving the property, doing some value add situations, taking care of the tenants, utilizing technology to be efficient, and that grows the value of that multifamily property very, very quickly. I get a loan from the bank for the other 80%, but then quickly within a couple years, I add hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars of equity into that apartment complex. If you want to know a little bit more details on how I do that, make sure to check out this video up here that I just released about how I bought a 12-unit apartment complex a few years ago that almost doubled in value in just a couple years because of exactly what I talked about. So it's not just something that works on paper, it works in reality, and I've done it. So I'm gonna borrow $2 million to buy an apartment complex. Whether it be a little bit less or a little bit more, it doesn't really matter. On closing of that apartment complex, there's not gonna be much equity. So I'm not gonna put in $2 million and get, $500,000-$600,000 worth of equity most likely. However, if I get aggressive like I tend to do, within the first 6 months, we will have improved the building, we will have increased rents, we will have brought in new people in our freshly rehabbed units, and that equity will increase very, very quickly. Because if you know anything about multifamily properties, they are valued on the income they produce. They're not valued on the market. So if I'm able to increase the income greatly, and if I'm able to decrease the expenses by utilizing my team that's in-house and technology and AI and lower the actual expenses, that spread of net income will directly explode the value of my multifamily. So I don't quite know for sure, depending on exactly when I buy that multifamily, but let's say I buy it in Q1, by Q3 or Q4 of next year, I would anticipate several $100,000 worth of equity, maybe even $1 million on top of that $2 million. So if I stick to my plan, which I am not recreating any wheels, I am just going back and doing what I've already done well, I should get to that $5 million worth of debt, and I should have $7-ish million worth of equity. So I can make $2 million next year because of my $5 million in debt if I do it the right way. And I've done it the right way, and I'm gonna do it the right way, and I wanna help you do it the right way. So we all know that assets create wealth. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that point. The thing about assets is they produce cash flow. So if you're buying the right assets, in this case real estate, you need to make sure that the actual rent you're going to collect is going to cover your mortgage and all your owning expenses. If it does that, somebody else is paying your debt, and that's the whole beauty of leverage. On top of that, you should be getting positive negative cash flow, so you can either put in a slush fund in case things go wrong, or you can have in case you need it. So the cash flow covers the debt and expenses. And over time, the property goes up in value, whether it be a multifamily based on the income or a single family based on the market. Real estate doubles in value every 15 years on the single family side, and on the multifamily side, it's all about the operator. It can double in 5 years or less if you're doing things the right way. I've proven that a few times. So you're getting the debt pay down. That's a sure thing if you're collecting rent. You're getting the upside of property value increase like clockwork, assuming you hold the unit long enough. Of course, multifamilies and especially single families might have a 6-month, 12-month, 3-month slow dip, but overall real estate goes up in value. It always has, and it always will. That's part of the beauty of the US economy. The Fed, the IRA, the government, investors, hedge funds, everybody wants and needs real estate to go up in value in aggregate. So you doomsdayers may think that it's gonna go down in the future or get cheaper. It's not, and it won't. Too many people have their money and their checkbooks and all of their retirement tied in to real estate on the actual legitimate side, as well as probably the corrupt side. Real estate's not going to go down in value in the long run, I promise. And to drive this all home, you get an insane amount of tax benefits for investing in real estate. You get write-offs, you can write off your cell phone, you can write off any furthering education you do, you can write off your mileage, you can write off a home office, you can rent your house out on paper for a few weeks a year, and the biggest one that most people take advantage of is you get depreciation, meaning you're able to write off basically all the cash flow that you get from your single family rentals and even apartment complexes and not pay a dime of taxes on your cash flow profit. The $5 million number I threw out there is kind of my goal. Hopefully I do way more than that as far as getting into the proper amount of debt, and that may seem like a lot to you. You don't have to have a goal of getting into debt. I just want you to understand that if you do it the right way, all of the benefits that come along with doing it. If you want help doing it the right way, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the like button. I do have a free training in the description that lets you see more and also gives you a chance to talk with my team about my community mentorship. I'm not here to pitch it to you, but it's got about 2,000 members that own over 300 million in real estate. So it's the groove path to create wealth with a full-time job. If you want that, I'd love to help you. If not, just enjoy all the free stuff on here and check out this video wherever it is about how to buy rental properties with the BRRRR method. See you on the next one.